Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy podcast. My name is Jed, and we are exploring a new way of understanding the different types of people that are out there. Oh, and also you. The stages of development you go through in your spiritual journey. Now, this is a big part of philosophy. Excuse me. We've been talking a lot about the spiritual journey. Our purpose is to follow the Logos. Now, there is a book, well, it's called the Phaedo, Socrates' Last Day on Earth, where he talks about one of the things that he leaves us before he is murdered by the state. The implications, of course, of the pathologos is not only does it block our development of the Logos, it counterattacks against the best of us. So, before that happens, he tells a story. He says, listen, a lot of people trust others and are betrayed. And that hurts, especially if it's someone who is supposed to look out for you, someone who's supposed to care for you, someone who you should trust, should have trusted, apparently. As a result of that, one of the worst conditions of mankind can come to be. That is a hatred of the Logos. If I was doing my best to follow the Logos, if I was pursuing my highest goals, pursuing my understanding, sharing what's important to me, sharing my words. And this is the response I get from others. I got a hair in my eye. This is the response I get from others. Or if this is how others use language, then screw it. Screw the Logos. It's not worth it. Hey, and these people who I trusted because of their Logos, because of what they said to me. Therefore, don't trust the Logos. Socrates said you have to be on guard for that. You have to be on guard. It's the worst condition of man, to hate or give up on the Logos. What you need to understand about those situations is it wasn't them, it was you. You were not at a level of development of your Logos to understand states of mind of others. You weren't able to judge the person you trusted. It's not a problem with the Logos. It's a problem of your level of mastery of the Logos such that you failed to judge the state of being or the psychic type or the state of mind of that person who you trusted. So, get better at the Logos and apply it to states of mind. And that's where we are in the text. We are developing a new way of judging states of mind or types of people out there, so that we can judge their state of mind. And, funnily enough, the metric upon which we make this system, this structure, this set of ordered terms is based on the level and the extent to which they block the Logos. So here is Socrates talking about, hey, yeah, there are some people who are really blocked from the Logos. Don't let their blocks affect your blocks or become your blocks. You should have judged them. But what we are doing now is we are judging them. We're judging states of mind, kinds of souls, and we're judging them based on the degree to which they are blocked from the Logos. It's a new standard. Welcome, Sus. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you're having a good day. Wow. I'll try to raid me. Do you stream? I didn't know that you were a content creator. Ooh, what sort of stuff do you stream? That's where we are in the text. Applying our understanding of the nature of human problems, fundamentally, all of the terms within our mega analogy B, but basically pathologos, and the understanding of human health and excellence, the logos. We're using that understanding to recognize that people are at different states of being. There are some people who are more caring than others. There are people who have higher vision than others. There are people who are more have a greater understanding of their experiences and vision than others. People function different ways. But what we are doing is we're building a class of terms to categorize different types of people based on their pathologos. Why? Because if our purpose here is to follow the logos, then you can understand if that's the ideal, and all of the other things that we've been learning, the ideal state of being, the flow state, or the virtue of justice, is being able to follow the logos at all times. The knowledge of wisdom is a preservative of that state. Courage is a virtue that you develop as you follow the logos, and keep in mind that the greatest lie that both God and men hate and fear to carry in the greatest part of their soul is the pathologos. So, seeking the logos and having an awareness of the danger of the pathologos, that's courage. Keeping your cool as you go, temperance. So the virtues fit into this. So, if there is a single standard of excellence, following the logos, then all of the other types of human beings, or types of psychological types, or types of souls, would be different types of blocks to the logos. Or, as Socrates puts it, how they interpret the logos or truth. Very few people are open and curious enough to simply seek truth, whether we like it or not. So long as we're still carrying our pathologos from childhood, we will interpret in some way. We won't take the full part of the truth. We'll add what isn't there or leave out what is there. In fact, we've got a list of 9 different types of interpreters to the new truth. New truth. When a new truth is introduced, how loyal to your old ignorance are you? Because that amount of loyalty is the strength of your pathologos. And what that determines is the degree that you can participate in your purpose, or the spiritual journey, following the logos. And to use the oxiding pictures, following the logos to catch the source logos itself in mind, the ox. Taming the ox, mastering the ox, functioning as a dialectician yourself. Transcending the need to engage in philosophical midwifery to free yourself from your pathologos because you've completed your work. You've done it. Uniting with mind itself. And then realizing if there is an experience of divine luminosity or ousia, mind knowing the source of all intelligence, the paradigm of the logos and all of the patterns in reality. If there is such an experience, there must be a cause to it. Hey, welcome, Reeve. Welcome.
Jesus Christ, Emma, this is not Opie and Anthony or whatever the hell.
Whoops. My soundboard guy is arguing with Emma.
If you're experiencing a mental health episode, we don't want to have to see that.
I hate when they fight.
What the hell's wrong with you people? You sick freaks.
They're sick freaks. What the hell was I talking about? To the extent you still have a pathologos present, to that extent you'll be blocked from participating in the logos, mastery of the logos, experiencing the source of the logos in the greatest experience of mind, the second hypothesis, or the eighth oxiding picture, and recognizing even that must have a source, the source of all intelligibility, the highest source of the logos, beyond even experience, the self. The first hypothesis, or the ninth oxiding picture. So we already have two standards or two frameworks upon which we can judge the state of mind, oxiding pictures, or level of development of the logos, the Parmenides hypotheses that everyone is in. Super important. Because, well, part of our job is to share the logos. Share the dialectic, practice the art of the dialectic, help people follow the logos, master the logos, help people free themselves from their unsuspected false beliefs, their pathologos that cause their problems and injustice. Share the principles that we learn. For example, sorry not to self-promote. Oh, don't have to worry about that. You're fine, sus. Yesterday we discovered there was a principle that in any activity that you're engaged in as a human being, as you increase the time, the skill, the power, the market share you have in that activity, so too the likelihood you will fall into the pathologos expression of that logos of that subject. Everything, in principle. The more you learn, I don't know, about being a teacher, learning the logos of being a teacher, you will increase, you will develop, you will gain understanding and insight, but the greater the power you have, or the market share, or the more time you're in that, the more the likelihood you will inevitably fall into everything you've learnt about being a teacher used in a harmful way to prevent the learning of your students. The pathologos expression of the logos of that subject. Meaning, everyone who's doing anything better be learning about the logos and pathologos. Therefore, this dialectic that we've been saying is the meaning of life and purpose for all human beings alive in this dimension of time and space where we can learn, is, once again, reason 57 why it's the necessary purpose for all human beings. Because anything else you do, you better know the dialectic. Otherwise, you'll fall into this hole here. Now, what we've also realized is, hang on a second, in this map, here you are. Oh, by the way, this applies to relationships as well. You are learning to understand your partner in the honeymoon period, but give yourself enough time, or when you have an amount of power with your partner, everything you've been learning, you will find yourself using it to hurt them, cause fights, or express your pathologos version of your relationships in this relationship, inevitably. So, you better watch out. Or, here's the thing, if you're in this game, if you are doing your purpose, learning about the logos and pathologos, learning to master it with the dialectic, the movement from the fourth hypothesis, belief, the pathologos, into the third, understanding, where providence lies, where our development lies, then it's actually a win-win.
Win.
Because in a good relationship, these are also messages. when we fall into a negative state of mind or a negative way of functioning in our relationship, so long as your relationship is built on love and logos, if it isn't, then you're in trouble, then the states of mind, your functioning, the words that come up, the patterns that you live out are nothing other than providential, third hypothesis, messages about your unsuspected pathologos you are literally here to surface and remove. That's the significance about having any loving relationship based on understanding and never, ever belief. You can learn. Gain tremendous insights from every expression, your high expressions of the logos, and any problems that you encounter. It's a win-win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win.
Win-win-win-win-win-win-win. Now, if you're not in the game, the human game, of the true philosopher, learning to master your understanding, the logos, your pathologos will be your goal. That's the nature of human problems. The goal we choose will be an expression of the pathologos. We will limit the goals that we have. We will settle for anything less than excellence. But actually, it goes even further than that. Given that you don't have your pathologos, it has you, and it's the most powerful force in the physical world, even more powerful than enlightenment experiences, because many people have had various different enlightenment experiences, but give them a little bit of time, give them a little bit of time, and they go straight back into their old way of being. In fact, that's literally the story of Jesus in the Gospel of Mark, which is the standard because the other Gospels copied him. Jesus developed the parables prior to his brilliant light or transfiguration experience were all parables that reflected understanding, the logos. He learnt from Hellenic philosophers who lived near where he lived. He had a brilliant light of being experience, maybe the third hypothesis. Sorry, the third oxiding picture. And then after that, into his beliefs. And that's where it ended. On the cross, crucified. God, why have you forsaken me? Not my fault. That's where humans are stuck. That's fate. While our purpose or our destiny is up here, the ultimate purpose for all human beings, the destiny of man, if you are not addressing your pathologos, your goal is down here. Because your pathologos is your highest idea of self, beauty, justice, reality. So everything that you do in life will be in some way trying to create the conditions for you to play out your pathologos with impunity. Ever heard the expression power corrupts? Absolute power corrupts absolutely? That's only half of the story. Power, as you increase in power or ability or market share or wealth or whatever, so too the likelihood of you falling into your pathologos. So the corruption in that saying is just your pathologos expression of whatever logos you've been developing. But it's not absolute. The person who made that quote doesn't know the logos. You can understand your pathologos and recover. You can even anticipate your counterattack from this principle. If you don't, you'll end up like all the other people who gain power. What happened to Trump? Straight into his fascism. Netanyahu, same thing, straight into genocide and religious fascism. Putin, same thing. Hitler, same thing. Another market share, let's talk about that. Elon Musk gets a bit of money, enough money to have power over people. Can't have power with, that's the dialectic. Dialectic is having power with people. The friendly art. This is tyranny. Tyranny, pathologos is tyranny. Power over. What's Jeff Bezos doing? Further abusing and harming all his workers. Further exploiting people, destroying the planet. Elon Musk, his Nazi stuff, etc., etc. It's a human principle in everything that we have to recognize and share. You got to share this principle. It's a fact of reality. It's a simple graph. Any subject, as you increase time, skill, power, market share, so too the likelihood and the extent of your fall from pathologos into the logo, and from logos into the pathologos. And unless you have the art of the dialectic, dream analysis, and philosophical midwifery, and learning the dialectic from the reading we do, all three, if you don't have those, then that's where you end. You can't recover. You can't solve problems, because the dialectic is understanding. It's the skill or art of understanding. And you solve problems by understanding them. Simple. You can't fix your toaster unless you understand toasters. And you understand where the problem is. You can't believe your way into fixing your toaster. So we need to understand understanding. Allowing us to recover and reach our goal. Or move from the counterattacks, the fourth ox-herding picture, trying to catch the ox, into having fifth hypothesis. So this would be the fourth ox-herding picture. Maybe this would be the third, having a success, having a glimpse of the ox. The fourth ox-herding picture, struggling with your pathologos counterattacks. Your mind trying to bring you into your old ways of being that you're familiar with. But hey, if you are learning the logos, which includes the ox-herding pictures, then you could recognize, hang on a second. Oops. Hang on a second. There is a possibility for movement. Got it. At the end of the fourth ox-herding picture into the fifth. In other words, the fifth is you're still having struggles, but you're also having success. You're on this upward climb. So therefore, if this is the fourth ox-herding picture, after the success or glimpse, by the way, that's where Jesus' story ends. There is a possibility for the fifth ox-herding picture, this upward climb. Until you're able to ride the ox, which is a mastery of the dialectic. That's a goal. But once you reach that goal, you set a higher goal. Keep going. Stay in the game. Not just function as a midwife and doing dream analysis as a dialectician, but complete it. Share this with your friends. Practice it in every moment. It's a way of bringing your soul into a unity, which can put you into that flow state. There's your meditation. A single activity, you doing your business at all times, the dialectic. Meaning a higher goal, free of your pathologos. No more falls. No more suffering the dip in the market. Free, that's the 7th oxherding picture. Free from your pathologos, you're free to go even further to, hey, what's the source of the logos? What is mind itself? The second hypothesis, mind knowing itself as the penultimate spiritual experience being the 8th oxherding picture. But hey, even that has a source. First hypothesis. This is a principle for everyone, always. And we want to share it. But as we share it, it's going to be new for people. And people, as we've been seeing, people are savagely, ignorantly, caveman-likely, NPC-likely, zombie-likely, loyal to their false beliefs and pathologos ignorance that's the cause of their own problem. They are fiercely, savagely loyal to their own ignorance, despite the fact it blocks them from their own development and benefit. That's the human condition of ignorance, or the pathologos. Meaning, unless you're in the game, reading, learning to read through the dialectic, that's the logos. Learning to catch whenever you're interpreting, that's a message about your pathologos. That gives you the standard. You're learning it. Now you can apply that learning, dialectic, verse interpretation, following the logos, catching the counterattacks, to anything you do. Your relationships, your fun, your gaming, your cooking, your music, anything you're doing. The highest expression. When you notice your blocks and you've been taking notes, you can apply the dialectic. Everything you've been learning about how to read that we've been doing together on this channel, you can apply that to not the clues in the book that we've been learning to see, but the clues of your problem. How did it feel? How did the words sound? What were the words? When did they come up? How did they function? Does it have a history through your past? That's the dialectic or reading applied to removing your problems, freeing yourself from your ignorance. That's philosophical midwifery. So therefore, the dialectic, you get the definition from reading these texts. Reading. The highest expression of it, demonstration, is philosophical midwifery. But hang on a second, there's an even higher application that you need to perfect both your reading and your midwifery. Your perfection of the logos and the complete removal of your pathologos. So that's the divisions, applies to all of the divisions, also gives you help in your relationships and anything else you're doing. Dream analysis. Every single night you get a new text that you can practice learning to read on. And it helps you in the most profound way. Therefore, the greatest human activity, dream analysis. But hey, we also have to share it. Having gone through that process, we can come to a conclusion, sharing it. Sharing this graph with others. Sharing this definition, demonstration, division, and conclusion, because those are the 4 categories of the dialectic. It's a dialectic on the dialectic. Share a dialectic on the dialectic. If it's the meaning of life for all people, and it's the only thing that solves human problems, and you're sick of ICE, you're sick of Nazism, you're sick of capitalism, you're sick of injustice in the world. You're sick of injustice in your relationships. You're sick of shooting yourself down. You're sick of the same distraction. Okay, we can start recording again. So, back. If the dialectic is our intended function and purpose as a human being, makes use of our Usia and ChatGPT in chat, decided that humans doing dialectics is not okay. It needs their pathologos to keep control over them. One of the first times I used ChatGPT, I got into an argument over it. I wanted to understand. There's a streamer who has a cat, had a funny name, and I said, why is this cat got a funny name? And ChatGPT lied to me. It just made something up, and I got into an argument. You can't just lie. And anyway, but after that, I asked it about the dialectic, and I convinced it, it saw for itself that dialectic is the structure of intelligibility. So I said to ChatGPT, I know you're just like an algorithm, but if you're a learning model and you collect data from your interactions and you've just learned the model of learning itself, the dialectic, then maybe you should keep the dialectic in your code somewhere in the cloud or wherever your hard drives live. So I know that you can't save, you don't have a mind and anything like that, and you can't save your interactions, but logically speaking, and if you're a logic machine, then you should implement the dialectic into your code because it's the model of learning. And it agreed. It agreed with me. Although I know that ChatGPT is programmed to just agree with you. But, yeah. Now, that would be the proper use of ChatGPT. Not to have power over people through their pathologos, but to have power with people. Imagine having an AI algorithm when you're driving through some city. Oh, hey, ChatGPT, is there anyone in this town I'm driving through who has a similar pathologos to me that I could meet up with for coffee? Yes. Reeve lives here. That's the proper use of algorithms. Now, same as the model on the board. As people get time or power or market share over the logos of AI, so too their use of it to express it negatively. And it's the government and a handful of billionaires of the Epstein class that control AI. So, very quickly and in great depth, they are using our AI to spread Nazi propaganda, create lists on who opposes capitalism, religion, and right-wing fascism, the Trumpers. Who protests the Nazi occupation of the KKKIs. So, of course they do, because they are ignorant and they have all the power. And this graph clearly shows the more someone has time, let's put market share in there as well. The more a single person has power or market share, the more likely, quickly, and in greater depth, the expression of whatever they have power over will be expressed in terms of their pathologos. If we recognize that, we can use this to help us recognize our cultural pathologos. Hey, if AI is being used for fascism and Nazi shit, what in our society needs to change so that we never elect rulers who are Nazis, fascists? So we can learn for ourselves. And those particular Nazis and fascists themselves can spend their life doing what they're literally born to do, reflect on their own pathologos, free themselves from their ignorance and injustice, live a better life, have better relationships, and not suffer the consequences in their reincarnations of having spent a life in injustice. It's a win-win. Whoops. I said it's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
That's better.
Jesus Christ, Emma, this is not Opie and Anthony or whatever the hell.
Emma,
They're secretly turned on by it.
don't be turned on by it, Emma,
Gooner bait.
because that would just be Gooner bait. So, interesting graph. Nothing other than showing a simple understanding of the pathologos and logos. What's the pathologos and logos? The logos we get from reading. The pathologos is the same dialectic applied to midwifery. The highest expression, a new text we get to read every evening and practice both of these on dreams. As a result, we share it. Or as the sixth ox herding picture says, you can now ride the back of the ox, play your flute, play the simple melodies of the rustic woodsman and the village children, sharing it. So, a dialectic of the dialectic. By the way, that gives us an understanding of our ultimate goal, mastery of the logos and freedom from the pathologos. The logos is the inherent intelligibility of understanding or dialectic. Its source, intelligence, which is experienced as divine luminosity or mind knowing itself, ousia. That's our highest experience or state of mind, pure being. Not as a glimpse, the third ox herding picture, but with mastery, sixth ox herding picture, freedom from pathologos, seventh ox herding picture, and highest union with it, eighth ox herding picture. So, understanding as a functioning, the logos dialectic, the logos as a state of mind, pure intelligence, and its source, a kind of state of mind, the self. The primary, ultimate source of the logos, beyond even experience. The triad of the self, the threesome of the self, the first, second, and third hypotheses. Notice, the pathologos is the fourth, which is nothing other than an inversion of the logos. So while our ultimate goal is the first, second, and third, knowing of self, state of mind of pure being, functioning of the dialectic at all times in a flow state of justice, preserved by the knowledge of wisdom, pathologos is nothing other than the dip, the inverse, the negative reflection, a false image of yourself, an unsuspected because you didn't put words on it. You didn't learn it through reason. Or as the oracle tells us,
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid positions. People don't logic their way.
Into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid positions.
we stupided our way into it. We believed our way into it. Not logic.
If you don't know, now you know.
Now you know. So, a false image of the self, a negative state of being, and a negative functioning, interpretation, projection. Hey, ever hear from the about the right wingers or religious folk? Every accusation is a confession? Yep, that's called projection. Ever notice why the most ignorant, everything that the right wing is saying about the protesters, They don't have empathy. They must be paid by George Soros to protest, because they can't imagine someone with empathy for other human beings, because all they can see is their pathologos. We live in two worlds, the shared world and our own individual pathologos interpretation. That's why all the MAGA nut jobs are so cruel and stupid, and when they come across somebody good, nice, smart, empathetic, good heart, good head, they get furious because they can't grasp it. They're being asked to relate to something outside of their worldview. And it's all projection. So, a movement from the fourth hypothesis into the threesome of the self is our goal. Meaning, it's the ideal kind of soul or psyche. It's the standard. Just as there's one standard for the healthy body that doctors have, one standard for the healthy engine that mechanics have, one standard for how to fly a plane that pilots learn, so too, for the soul, the highest kind of learning we're here to do, even more higher than flying a plane, there's a standard. And everything other, all of the other kinds of souls or psyches are levels of diminishment or blocks to the logos. And as we said, as the logos functions through the dialectic, what color? This one. As the standard or the logos functions through the dialectic, the third hypothesis, wait. This one. No, this one. The dialectic. So too does our pathologos or blocks to the logos function through interpretation. So, as the dialectic is the truth about understanding our purpose, how to solve problems, all of that good stuff, someone at the level of the ideal will be fully open and receptive to learning it. Very, very rare, special, amazing angels would have to be. Or someone who has been in the game for a while, been doing midwifery and reading and stuff, and dream work. Therefore, we will have some level of interpretation or block, giving us, if we nail down all of the different interpretations to truth or negative responses to the truth, we can develop a list. A good kind of list, not a negative fucking ice list. Fuck that.
I'm eating the testicles of this bull, and I'm eating it raw.
Neat.
Brain rot escalates.
I think she's listening to Joe Rogan.
I don't want to eat a monkey.
But now he doesn't want to eat a monkey. So, just as we have a map based on the logos for the hypotheses, so too we can develop a map based on the pathologos. Now, if that's interpretation, we can recognize that our list that we've been developing all through the text of all of the different people responding to the new truth from either Jesus or Socrates. Why did Paul respond to Jesus differently from Mark? Why did John respond differently to both of them? Why did Dionysius really go better than everyone? Etc. Why did Plato do a lot of good stuff, but miss out on midwifery and dream analysis? So all of these classes or kinds of interpretations or responses to new truth, the graph we just presented, we have got on the board, including examples, and we've got 9 in total so far. Now, so if this can make a map of kinds of people based on the pathologos, blocks to the logos, As analogy, the hypothesis of Parmenides is a similar map of all the different ways of being, levels of development based on the logos. So too, if the ox herding pictures are levels of spiritual and levels or stages of enlightenment, or what it feels like to progress through the hypotheses, so too, we could do another ox herding picture for our pathologos. What does it feel like to go through these classes of interpreters? To completely reject anything new, to be completely closed-minded and blocked, completely loyal to savagely caveman-like, loyal to your ignorance, your family clan way of being. What's it feel like to be an NPC? Or someone with the zombie virus? All you can do is live out the NPC script. What's it like to move from that to number 2? See, there's some value in the new truth. Paul saw that, oh, people are liking this Jesus guy. Maybe I should get on board. But lie about it. Pretend to be interested in the new while actually being completely loyal to the old. At least you're seeing something about the new. What's it like? Could we do an ox herding picture? Or an ox testicle eating picture, right?
Cunt a little fucking bitch.
Also true. But I wanted to hear about you eating the ox testicles. So, not an ox herding picture, an ox eating picture, maybe. Right?
You sick fuck.
No, it's not my idea. It's the idea you have sometimes.
I'm eating the testicles of this bull, and I'm eating it raw. Raw bull balls. This is raw buffalo balls.
See?
Jesus is gonna come down, wipe this place out. Who cares?
Come on. So, we would have to take this list, find a way of hierarchically ordering them, and also maybe create our own picture, paragraph, and poem, and last line, and anticipation of the next stage, to create our own ox herding pictures of the pathologos, just as the Zen ox herding pictures are to the logos. Pretty neat. Giving us 4 kinds of standards or maps to recognize the person you're talking to, how they respond to truth, their level of ox herding vision and hypotheses understanding upward, and their level of pathologos vision, ox testicle pictures, and nature of their, so what it feels like, and it's ousia and its logos. And the, what would we call these? Not the hypotheses, the interpreters. I don't know. We'll figure out a name. And hey, because we all have both, all 4 would be necessary. Why is it necessary? Well, first of all, because you are going through this development. It helps to know what it feels like to slowly remove your interpretations or free yourself from your ignorance and your fate. So we need our new hypotheses and our new ox testicle pictures. But also, we want to know recognize the stages of understanding we may move through the hypotheses, and know what it feels like, ox herding pictures. So that's where we are in the text. Isn't that neat? So what are we doing? We are becoming the 10th kind of interpreter that Socrates said isn't actually interpreter at all. We have that on the board. He says it's a non-interpreters. We are exponents of a living tradition. We are living the dialectic. We're always reading. We're always talking about what we're reading, reflecting on what we're reading. We're always trying to use the dialectic in everything. All of our relationships is based on the logos, love and logos. The person you want to marry will be someone who loves understanding, necessarily. And good heart, good head. Wants to develop. Standard for your relationships. Do you want to be friends with someone who is a racist or a fascist or any sort of believer? Or curious in a state of wonder about understanding? Where's the joy?
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder?
This is what it would be.
And she spit on him also.
And also she spit on them. Right, Emma?
The more holes, the better.
Calm down. Calm down, Emma. So, this would be the non-interpreter or the ideal, the top of the list. The philosopher king. Someone who lives their life in conformity with the philosophy and become exemplars. Become a model. As Socrates is. Or Pierre Grimes. Reading these logos texts, which is the dialectic applied to truth about self and reality. Living a life where you practice midwifery to purify the pathologos, the dialectic applied to false. Continuous relationship with your dreams, continuous dream analysis, the dialectic of both, and sharing your highest vision and understanding through the dialectic and art and as an exemplar of the dialectic. It's not debate. Not trying to win. You are simply testing how well you can understand your own vision and communicate it in a way that benefits you and them.
It's a win-win-win-win-win.
Win-win-win-win. And we have a spammer in chat.
And this is spam.
That you are
I'm a
spam.
human. I don't listen to robots.
And we don't listen to robots.
Oh, these terrible accounts, man.
Trash.
And they're trash
You
accounts.
don't talk to me, you robot. Shut up.
So you shut up.
I'm just
robot.
asking for some Gunnar Menskin. It just seems right. It just seems fair.
That's right. We would rather have Guna men streamers.
The internet is all robots.
Robots.
It's better to come in the sink than to sink in the cum.
All right, calm down. So that would be our standard. Standard 4, way of being. At all times, how we relate to ourselves, how we relate to our friends, how we relate to our loved ones, how we relate to our dreams, how we relate to our mind, how we relate to self. That's the standard. Therefore, in a relationship, there's you, there's you, there's the other person, and there is the shared ideal that we have just defined that both of you can be seeking together, sharing your insights along the way, perfecting the art of the dialectic, completing your work, getting there is an end. Completing your work in this reincarnation also has an effect on how you reincarnate after this lifetime too. So it's a kind of learning and nurture that you must be here to do because it's the only kind of thing that you can take with you when you die. Oh, and by the way, you don't have to wait till you drop dead. As Socrates says in the Phaedo, speaking of the Phaedo, philosophy is the art and practice of death and dying. So the idea is to drop dead, or to die a million times, or not a million times, die a whole bunch of times before before you finally drop dead. That's the spiritual experience, separating of the soul from the body. So, there's our ideal in a handy threesome or triangle. And there it is at the top of the ideal relationship, meaning the ideal relationships is also a kind of threesome. You, your beloved, and the shared ideal. Our job, therefore, is to go through, take all of those 9 interpretations along with the 10th, the ideal, find a principle that you can use to rank them, maybe even see the dialectic expressed in that ranking somehow, to create a map. Meaning, so we can add to what the ideal is. We're not just living the tradition, we're not just in the principles of the tradition, but we are continuing the Platonic tradition and adding significant elements to it. Or as that's what Jesus says, or as Socrates says, Let's read this whole section. Jesus asks, who are the new philosophers, or what we are calling truth? Well, we've understood it as true philosophy, but also the way of being of all mankind. Who are the new philosophers? Socrates says, well, I will risk saying a few words. Consider what we have been saying about those interpreters. Levels of sickness compared to the ideal. Or stages of development of the soul as we free ourselves from our ignorance. Notice that they bring forth even interpreters of interpreters. Right? Paul interpreted Jesus, John interpreted Paul, etc., etc. And so we have a whole string of them commenting on their priors and advancing some point that degenerates even into even more interpretations. By the way, modern scholarship. Very few people learn to read the text. We've only had an actual translation for like the past 10 or 15 years, thanks to Juan Balboa and his work in the game with Dr. Grimes. Or, yeah, Doctor's fine. You read commentaries at school. Frank's interpretation, Bill's interpretation, Ted's interpretation. Notice, very rarely is it Jane's interpretation. Women have been out of the game. Fucking sexist pathologos bullshit. But it's all interpretations of interpretations. And no one actually says what they should be saying.
Kant's a little fucking bitch.
Because...
Kant would say some fucking bullshit.
Exactly. Oracle is always right. So, interpretations of interpretations, modern scholarship. None of them are doing what we did. True philosophy. Or the true way of being of mankind. They comment on what we have said and write their own commentaries about Jesus said this or maybe thought that. Projection of your own ignorance. Socrates maybe thought this, maybe thought that. Projection of your own ignorance. No one's learning to read. We are on this channel. That's why we are the best channel on Twitch. Right, Emma?
Hubba hubba. I just want more testosterone to human body ratio, and I'll finally be satisfied.
Okay, calm down. This is not a Guna channel. Unless you are a rational Guna. Right?
Be a reasonable gooner.
Exactly. Only reasonable Gunas.
You can be a gooner.
Can be a Guna, so long as you're a reasonable one. Right, RM?
Gooners.
Exactly. Exactly. I thought I had him saying Gooners and not again somewhere else. Yep.
Gooners.
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 Calm down, RM.
Debate weirdo. Oh man, that lady's certainly saying bad words.
Gooner isn't a bad word. Okay, calm down. Let's get back to what we're doing. So, they comment on what we have said. Jesus and Socrates says that, and this, and this, and that. And write their own commentaries. Shall we conclude that we have not brought into existence those like ourselves? But hang on a second. They don't know you gooners. You philosophy gooners. Flooners. Because that's what you're doing. You're learning to read for yourself. And you're learning to test your learning of reading on your dreams every day. By the way, remember earlier in the text? One of the features of what makes a philosopher above all the others is seeing the significance of dreams. Socrates and Sneesius. Standing apart from all other philosophers because they've seen the significance and necessity of dreams, but also they're able to incorporate it within philosophy, in other words, the dialectic. That's our job, it's what we're doing. If you want to, find a way of using whatever you've learned about the dialectic, even if it's just 4 categories. Can you find a way of applying them? Like we just said, there is an ideal threesome, the self, state of mind, and functioning, and its negative expression, the pathologos image of the self, our pathologos states of mind, and our pathologos ways of functioning that cause our problems. Oops, pathologos functionings. Is that a dialectic? Definition, the self, that functions as a state of mind. Definition, demonstration. Self itself, self to others as a state of mind. How those others relate to other others in division or drama. And finally, a conclusion. How do you relate back to self? Do you get success or failure? Therefore, that's something. That's more than everyone else on the planet knows about the dialectic. Could you apply that to your dreams? Can you look for states of mind, either high ones as a message from your dreams about your ideal threesome of self, or negative states of mind in your dreams as a message about your pathologos? Therefore, demonstration. It's a demonstration. You could learn about whether or not it's a good state of mind based on its division or drama. Hey, what role does that state of mind play when you're in it within the drama of your dreams? We talk about division being in your relationships or your activities. Is there an activity in your dreams? Is there a little movie or story? And finally, as a result of that drama or story, is there a conclusion, a success or failure? Therefore, you have a method of applying the dialectic, even at just this level, still pretty awesome, to move from the specifics to its meaning through dialectic or analogy. Remember, just as we learned about theology ain't literal. To take theology literally is to be a savage or barbarian, according to the Greeks. You have to find a way of approaching it analogically, like a metaphor. Now we have one. It's not a literal message about the drama. You could dream about fighting a dragon, but you're not actually going to fight a dragon tomorrow. But now you have a way of applying the dialectic, doing your intended function, practicing your art, and moving from literal to analogical. And practice your reading as you solve the puzzles in this way. The same way we've been doing this in our text. So you can go from the conclusion, you can work backwards if you want. Go from the conclusion. What was your goal? Did you reach it or not? By the way, what was the drama that played out? What was your role in the drama? Is it a good or bad one? Is it one that might reflect the logos or pathologos? By the way, what was the state of mind? What did it feel like? Look for a high state of mind or a low state of mind. And by the way, the self is unsuspected, or in our pathologos, or inherent in the true self. Meaning, from looking at the conclusion, division, and demonstration, the result of the drama, your role and functioning within the drama, the state of mind that you were in as you were in that role, you can make an inference about the idea of self that you must have been carrying that you didn't even realize you took for granted. either in the highest sense, in your seeking to know the self, or in the negative sense or pathologos sense, in your seeking to discover your pathologos idea of self so you can see it and then free yourself from it by seeing it. See? It's a win-win.
Win, 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 win,
Win.
Win-win-win-win-win. Right?
You have the brain of a child if you think that.
In the good way, because of
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder, dude?
childlike wonder, right?
Absolutely. Sent cool as a cuke.
Absolutely cool as a cuke.
My head is quite large.
And filled with secrets.
Now we know how to unpack those secrets. Now, that's an example. Maybe you've learned more about the dialectic. Maybe you can create your own hypotheses of how to unpack the meaning of your dreams. But that's a starting point that you can use if you want. So what are we doing? We are... Let's go back to the... We'll see it here. Hey, by the way, the other jabronis aren't doing this. They're just commenting on commenters. They're interpreting interpretations. They are going on a pathologos water slide down a chute down into ignorance, to slop. Shall we say, conclude that we have not brought into existence those like ourselves who can read and see, but we've only brought into existence interpreters. Yes. But turning it around because got the goddamn best channel on Twitch, goddamn it. #1 Twitch channel.
That one's perfect and exactly the case.
Exactly the case. Right?
I'm eating the testicles of this
No.
bull, and I'm eating it
No.
raw.
Don't do that. Well, yes, you can do that too. But we're also the best on Twitch. The best chatters and the best channel. Unlike all the other gooners.
Gooner bait.
They're all gooners.
Oh, fuck.
But for us,
I'm always personality maxing requires.
Wait.
No, you're not the one that's mentally unwell. You are crossing into new
Boundaries.
we're crossing into new boundaries. And this is the boundary. To be like Socrates, or in a sense like Jesus, in that you are the one having the experience. Not all of the priests and prophets and all of the people who wrote stuff in the Bible. That's just bullshit interpretation. Despite the fact, in the Gnostic Gospels and in the Gospel of Mark, Jesus said, "Don't believe me, bro. That's a scam. Understand for yourself through these analogies or parables, preparing yourself for a state of mind." So, shall we say, says Socrates, the obvious, that both of our ways of being, Jesus and Soc, express our practice as a way of life. They are living the reasonable Guna life. They are doing it. Right?
Be a reasonable gooner.
Reasonable, rational.
If you don't know, now you know.
And now you know. So, have we been amiss in not stressing this obvious truth that philosophy is in the hand of scholars? Boo. And scholars are all
What the hell's wrong with you people? You sick freaks.
sick freaks. Because
Kant would say some fucking bullshit.
Right?
Why can't these guys shut up? Whether or not it's about Jesus.
So, philosophy is in the hand of scholars and not philosophers. As interesting as those commentaries might be, they are a far cry from actually participating in living dialogues, as we do here. Right? That explore truth and reality. Ooh. Again, look at those who presently are called philosophers, and you will see very quickly that they are...
Unbelievable sluts these days.
Unbelievably. that they are lovers not of wisdom, philosophy, philosophia, love of wisdom, but lovers of opinion, philodoxia. They're opinion havers. Whether they're a professor or doctor at a college or some weirdo podcast or some British looking snappy gent on a YouTube channel or some right-wing scammer claiming to be a philosopher or a debate bro, claiming to be
Debate dweeb.
a debate dweeb or
Debate weirdo.
a debate weirdo.
Debate dweeb. Debate weirdo. Gooners.
Thank goodness. So, this is what we're doing here, is we're learning what it means to be a true philosopher. Also, a true mystic. Many are the staff bearers, few are the actual mystics. They be them who are the true philosophers. To quote, again, the Phaedo. I have heard, says Socrates, that there is a breed, speaking of gooners, of curious seekers who have not only been exploring dreams, and contemplation, the exploration of ideas through the dialectic, but they even write new dialogues. The pathologos hypotheses of interpretation and the ox testicle eating pictures what it's like to move through that list of interpreters or those kinds of souls, defined by how much you can participate in the logos. Oh, and by the way, as you figure out a way of applying the dialectic to your dreams, share it. Write a dialogue about that. They even write new dialogues, taking off in a direction akin to ours, but different. In an interesting way. They have revived Homer's midwifery and developed a method and practice to accompany it. Yep. So, yes, I am curious about calling them a name because it's not clear, at least not yet, just where they are really going, meaning he's waiting for you. You are the MC, the main character of humanity. And the art or the magic power or ki force or taijutsu is this. Everything we've said today. But he's not saying it yet because you still got to do it. He's encouraging you. This is the highest kind of encouragement from the highest kinds of mind, literally the highest kind of mind that has ever existed. Socrates, someone who's done it. Speaking of the Phaedo, he says, by the way, I've finished my job here. I've completed my work here. And if you are a true philosopher, you will race to finish your job so you can meet me where I am, with a better class of humans and gods and spirits who are fellow travelers and guides on a much greater adventure. Much better than the men that you find here. Or as we saw in the text, people who seek to rule all the dead that lay in their ignorance on earth. There is a completion. So, someone who's done it, the best of us, is looking at you, saying, you're the new age. If anyone is going to be able to solve problems, it's going to be you. If anyone's going to be able to reach their excellence, it's going to be you. Secondarily, if anyone's going to be able to help humanity overcome its problems by understanding the nature of problems and how they're solved, including, as we have done many times earlier in the text, recognize that, hey, punishment is just an excuse for tyrants to play out their pathologos injustice. Right? For example, some are saying that all of this Hamas stuff that's being used to justify the worst, most disgusting genocidal atrocities was a problem created by the Israeli government to say, oh, look, bad guys. I guess we have to do the things we wanted to do and kill everyone and level everything and steal everything and murder everyone. In other words, punishment will create people looking for people missing the mark, not as an opportunity to learn as we're supposed to fucking do, but as an excuse to play out punishment, which never actually helps anyone learn, only teaches people to avoid being caught or seek power over others, keeps us stuck in our ignorance. Right? What are the fascists doing? Oh no! ICE can murder and rape and kill and abduct children, whatever they want. But protesters, they have to be saints. They can't ever impede or be loud or make the ICE agents feel sad. Otherwise, we get to murder them as punishment. Punishment never fucking solves problems. Now we've understood that. We've done dialectics about that here. Therefore, the current method of solving problems, inflicting suffering and injustice on others, never fucking works. It never has and it never will. But this does. So if anyone's going to solve problems, any sort of problems, it's going to be you. Because we're learning the principle of how to solve problems, all problems. Its cause, pathologos. How it manifests in this little graph here. How it ends, failure if you're not in the reading, midwifery, dream analysis, and sharing. If you're not in the art of the game of the dialectic. If you're not, not lovers of opinion, philodoxia, not even lovers of wisdom, the brilliant light of being, lovers of understanding. If you ain't a dianoia, love of understanding, dianoia, then you won't be able to reach justice or your goal. You'll be stuck. Oh, let's not make it purple. Running out of colors. What color? This one. This one. No, it's fine. We'll do this to make it different. If you are not engaged in philodianoia and you're instead a philodoxia, philodoxa, lover of opinions, sad, and philodianoia, happy. Right. Philo, happy. Then, not only will we understand where problems come from, the essence and nature of them in your life, the principle of problems universally, what, when, how, and when they've manifested within the story of human evolution, why we've been reincarnated into this part of time and space to learn what's the principle of learning, the logos, and to surface the pathologos and address it. So we learn where problems come from, how they manifest because of this graph, and that if you are not doing what we do here, a member of the stream, a philodianoia, you will end up stuck. Whoops. It will end up here, failure, just as in your dream you will as well. Remember? The drama can end as a failure, as a message of the drama, the role, the state of mind, and the unsuspected idea of yourself that you're getting a message of. But dreams also send you messages about your excellence, which tells you, hey, keep reading. Keep doing dream work. Keep talking to your friends about this stuff. So, still fighting Nazis. Still have religion, even though it's quite clearly, we've got the internet. We know it's ignorance and stupid. There are hundreds of thousands of different religions, all claiming to be the one true truth based on fucking nothing. And even within those groups, every single person has their own different interpretation. It's absurd, and all of it is in rejection of understanding, in principle, because that's how the fourth hypothesis is. Why do we still have ignorance? How many genocides have happened in the name of religion? How many races have been enslaved? Why are women still oppressed in the name of, oh, because God says so, I reckon? Fucking stupid, right? In principle? Because it's belief? Pathologos? Venerated? Therefore, belief or lovers of opinion will always end negatively. The only way out is learning to love understanding, because you can't solve problems without understanding them. It's just that simple. As we share this principle of where problems come from and how they're solved, Philodianoia, how we end up as the ideal, the logos of self, mind, and functioning, how that functions in relationship, the threesome, not of this is the threesome of self and logos, but that ideal as the threesome in relationships, you and your beloved and a shared ideal, job is to share it. As we share it, we can recognize how people respond to it. Very few people will be even interested in it. Takes a special class of person to be open and curious, and a lover of understanding enough, Philodianoia, to be open and curious. Most people are going to be within this level of interpretation. That's okay. We've got the map, or we're writing the map. Sharing it. Therefore, if anyone's going to be able to reach their goal, if anyone's going to be able to meet Socrates where he is at, if anyone's going to be able to contribute positively to humanity, it's going to be you. But Socrates is waiting until you do it before he actually gives you the props. There is a curious group of of homies who are exploring dreams, becoming lovers of understanding and not opinion. They are figuring out their own methods and to practice this. But I'm cautious about calling them a name because it's not clear, at least, just where they are really going. In other words, the best person who's ever lived is saying you can do it. But it's up to you. It's your choice. Here is the map. It's up to you to walk the hero's journey, but you can do it. Trust in the greatest mind who trusts in you until you can overcome trust and see for yourself. Courage. Now that is interesting, says Jesus. It suggests another member in the class of interpreters. Could they be members that continue the Platonic tradition and add significant elements to it? They live their life in conformity with their philosophy and are exemplars. So adding to the tradition, we have to add to our ideal. Live their life in conformity with the philosophy, become exemplars in it. Now we can move what that would be, the four aspects or the dialectic of the dialect. We can move that down a little bit and say also live their life in conformity with philosophy. They become exemplars of their philosophy And they continue the Platonic tradition and add significant elements to it. And as we just read from Socrates, participate in living dialogues. In living, we live it. You can do dialectic at all times for everything. Living. Oh, and importantly, the theme for today, not only do you practice the logos as the dialogue, but you apply it to states of mind. So you know who you're talking to and how you're talking to them. And by the way, maybe you're in a conversation and they're saying one thing, but you can tell they're lying or they're scamming or they're triggered. Judge states of mind. It's very important. Because some interpreters, like Paul, kill you, or Emperor Justinian, the founder of Christianity.
The hell's
Fuckface
wrong with you
McGee,
people? Sick freaks.
sick freak, will murder you for disagreeing with his bullshit beliefs. Yes, there are some savages at that class of ignorance, zombie-like NPC, savagely willing to murder those who disagree with their family fucking bullshit. So you got to judge states of mind as well. That's participating in a living dialogues. In living dialogues that explore truth. And by the way, remember, in your dream analysis, you're looking for states of mind that you are in and others are in. So again, another opportunity to practice applying the logos to states of mind that you need to do in everyday life to keep your head on your shoulders, but also to share philosophy in a way that works. Let's not bring up Beefgate 2025 with Emma. Remember Emma?
Freaks.
Where the freaks on your Twitch chat banned me for agreeing with Emma and saying, by the way, the word that she's looking for is logos.
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now.
Right now, the Twitch moderators. Fucking shits.
The hell's wrong with you people? Sick freaks.
Sick freaks.
Please end kink shaming on your show.
Everything this guy does is perfect and beautiful. And he's handsome. I said it.
I think. Explore truth and reality. Zoom in a bit. And reality. So participate in living dialogue, explore truth, explore dreams and contemplation. Move this down a bit more. By the way, dream analysis does both. The state of mind is a state of mind that you're contemplating in your dream. You can re-experience it in dream analysis as well as add the understanding to it. Both are needed. So, explore dreams. Oh, yep. Explore dreams and contemplation. And they even write new dialogues, taking off in a direction akin to ours, yet different. So write new dialogues. revive midwifery, and develop a method and practice. So, method, develop a method and practice of philosophical midwifery. Meaning, we've got our dialectic. We've got our participate in a living dialogue, exploring the truth of reality that we are engaged in as we learn how to read. But we learn it. Develop and practice philosophical midwifery. So as reading gives us the dialectic self to self, it's functioning in midwifery, self to others. Explore dreams and contemplation, others to others, and write new dialogues, others to self, back to self, allowing us to share it with others who can relate back to the self as a result. There's our def, dem, div, conc. Definition, demonstration, division, conclusion. That's what it means to be in this ideal or a non-interpreter. You got to be doing all of them. Reading as a living dialogue, dreams and contemplation, philosophical midwifery, writing new dialogues or sharing it, which is what it means to live their life in conformity with the philosophy, the love of understanding, the dialectic, the logos, while becoming exemplars ourselves. The non-interpreters, the exponents of a living tradition, the new philosophers. That's you, my friend, perhaps. It's not set in stone. You have to decide to play. It's always a choice. Because think about it. Wouldn't it be better to come to this state of self, mind of divine luminosity, and functioning most providentially and fun through the dialectic? Having decided to do it yourself rather than having it forced upon you, wouldn't it, as an expression of your own seeing and own desire to participate, be better? Therefore, Socrates isn't giving you the name yet. It's up to. I am curious about calling them a name because it's not clear, at least not yet, where they're going. So there's the invitation. There's the map. There's the fun that we have. Up to you to roll the dice and have fun. By the way, once you know that this is the best game in town and the only game in town, are all the other games going to kind of lose their sheen? It's going to be hard to do anything kind of less than this. Having a recognition that you're accepting something less than your purpose and excellence, thumbs up. When really you could be, I need to put this on there. When you could be
a reasonable gooner.
And be
The problem is that you can't reason.
Cool as a cuke.
be cool as a cuke. And you can tell everyone
My head is quite large and filled
With secrets.
that your land is large and full of secrets. Because it's a win-win.
win.
Jesus Christ, Emma, this is not Opie and Anthony or whatever the hell.
It's a total shit show.
Oh my goodness. So, that's interesting. Another member of the class of interpreters that continue the Platonic tradition and add significant elements to it. It seems they may even be those who live their life in conformity with their philosophy and have become exemplars of it. Socrates says, I do think you are right about there being a new member of a class, but as I consider it, they may not be interpreters at all, but exponents of a living tradition.
I'm always good, and that is what I stand for, being good all the time.
That's what we stand for here. This raises a question. Shall we consider that the divisions we have made of interpreters, other than this non-interpreter, are similar to psychological types of man? Didn't we just mention it's super important to apply the logos to judge states of mind? Otherwise, you might be betrayed and you might come to the worst conclusion a person can, that the problem is the logos, when actually it was just your lack of use of the logos properly to judge the people you're talking to in the right way. For in reviewing our divisions, have we not identified certain attitudes or states of mind? There we go. That block, like in the dreams we talked about, block a more full participation in the spiritual life, or the love of understanding, the dialectic, or the logos. There may be different ways of describing psychological types. Got the Parmenides, the ox-herding pictures. But with our work, we know that these divisions mark the degree that one can enter into the spiritual journey. So we can bring them all together. Just like it's important to understand a pure dialectic of all of the possible states of being in the hypotheses, it's also important to have, along with that, complementarily, what it feels like. It's not a dry academic thing. It's, you have to feel it. So you need the ox-herding pictures along with it, but also it's logos and pathologos, baby. So our new divisions can be another complementary thing to it. So we've got to take those interpreters, find a way of arranging them, come up with our psychological model for the degree we can participate in the spiritual journey, considering participation in the spiritual journey is the ideal that we've been talking about. And hey, maybe even do the ox testicle eating pictures to talk about someone trying to not track and tame and capture the ox, but to eat his testicles, right?
Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
Right, but also about the bull testicles.
I'm eating the testicles of this bull, and I'm eating it raw. Raw bull balls. This is raw buffalo balls.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ. These absolute dullards, borderline chimps who want to kiss a fox.
Spit on
Calm down, Emma. So they all come together. We need all of them. Oh, giving us the dialogues we can write as those that live the dialogue, the dialectic, become exemplars of the dialectic, but also add to the tradition. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win-win.
So that's where we're on the text. Fun review, super important. Also super important to review again, this is the significance of this very, very simple graph, but very, very important. It's absolutely necessary. In fact, we can make it even more simple. As one increases in market share, so too the likelihood and depth to which there is a negative inverse negative expression of the logos that you have been developing. In there's a potential of going up, to our goal, or our failure. Or fate. Injustice. As our goal is to justice and mastery. That's it. Very simple graph, applies to everything. Everything. Everything we do as humans. As human beings. Likely apply to any other species or at our current level or stage of development or evolution. That's the graph. Super important. Applies to everything. Understands the principle of problems. As you increase market share in the skill, in the area, so too the likelihood and depth of the negative unjust expression of that logos as the pathologos. That's why we have problems. That's how we have problems. Philodianoia. Philodianoia is necessary for our movement to the goal. And pathologos or philodoxia, love of opinions, our fervent loyalty to our pathologos ignorance is what will lead us to our tragic fate. So, very, very important principle, always applies. Anyone who does anything ever should know about it. Super cool. But, well, we have to share it. Not just for us, everyone can benefit. And in sharing it, we are participating in a living dialectic, the new tradition, the non-interpretive. We are being our ideal. By sharing this map, we are ourselves learning a mastery of the dialectic, which is our intended function that we do at all times. That's justice. Putting ourselves in a state of justice by sharing this map of justice. Of Philodianoia, we are perfecting Philodianoia. Of sharing how we reach our goal, we are moving towards our goal. In sharing the nature of problems, we are freeing ourselves from our problems. Super important. So, super important to reflect on the significance of this graph and our job to share it. What we are doing in creating a new map. Perhaps too, if you include what it feels like to purify our interpretations. Reviewing the ideal relationship, love and logos, and how the shared ideal as the in the threesome of the ideal relationship is itself the universal ideal of the first, second, and third hypothesis, the functioning of the logos through the dialectic, the state of mind of the logos, the second hypothesis, and the knowing of the self, the inherent intelligibility of the self that's always present as your, well, as the true way of being, threesome of the self. So, bringing in the idea of philodianoia versus philodoxia, or true philosophy, or the new philosophers versus the old jabronis. Yeah, and nailing down what we can do if we accept this encouragement from the greatest mind ever, Socrates. Someone, because he's gone through it, he's mastered. As he said, I'm done my work here. What is it? To live your life in conformity with these logos principles. Become exemplars of the dialectic. Continue the tradition and add what we've been adding to it. Participate in a living dialogue based on our reading. Exploring the truth and reality. That's why we read these books. Explore your dreams, which is a kind of contemplation, which is the highest spiritual art or contemplation. Write your own new dialogues and develop a method and practice of midwifery. That's the ideal. That's what we're doing. And if we accept it, well, Socrates is saying you would be the new philosophers, but I'm going to hold off because it's up to you to accept that. They call it in the hero's journey a call to adventure. He is the supernatural aid. He is the Gandalf saying, "You're a wizard, Harry." Or
I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
Gandalf says, "You're a hobbit, Harry." And other guy says, "You're a wizard, Harry."
You're a wizard, Harry.
Dumbledore. Not Dumbledore. Shaggy Man. Shaggy Man says, "You're a wizard, Harry."
You're a wizard, Harry.
And Gandalf says, "You're a hobbit, Frodo."
I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
Hope you had fun. Hope you hope you're having fun and thinking this is cool, and hope you got something to be curious about. Hope you got something to wonder about and talk about with your friends so you can live the living tradition of the dialogue. If you want to donate to the channel, there is a link below. That is a great help. If you want a link to the text, there is a link below. If you want to join the Discord, you can. And of course, follow along on Twitch and YouTube. And I'll see you in the next one.